What is up, YouTube? Back with another video. Today we're going to do a complete teardown on a Polaris 700 big block. The same principle with this video will apply to all 97 to 05 Polaris 700s, as well as like the 2000 to 2005 800, along with 98, 99, and maybe some 2000 600s. They all have pretty much the same basic construction. Very minor differences between them all, but as far as the teardown, the assembly, it's pretty much the same. So I'm going to try to do this video pretty much straight through, minimal editing as possible, and we're just going to tear this thing completely down, top end, bottom end, removing the coolant pump, everything. So I think this will be pretty cool, especially for people that have never torn one of these all the way apart, maybe done a top end, but you've never split the cases and pulled a crank, stuff like that. So this is as complete as it can get, minus obviously the reeds. This is a snow checked 98. This was a runner, but it has been sitting for many years, and you see some light rust on the intake side here. So I want to build another 700. It's going to be a fresh motor. Like, probably won't rebuild the crank as long as I have a good crank sitting around, purely just for, I don't know, cheaping out. If it's a good crank, it's a good crank, right? But we build the top end, all that stuff. That won't be for this video. This is strictly tear down, showing what I'm doing. I'm going to explain what I'm doing. I might throw in some of the size of the bolts, depending on if I remember. But it's pretty much going to be a visual how-to. So first things first, that I want to do is remove this primary clutch. First, pull the retaining bolt out. And on these old school big blocks, up till 99, there's two sets of threads. Small bushing primary. And you got to work the bolt through both of them. After that, 99 to 97, they use a clutch puller that looks like this. 2000 and later, use a different style puller, that is. Well, I guess the clutch and everything's different as well. They look the same, but the bushing's different. All right, that was easy. Here. Alrighty. Next, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to remove exhaust manifold. So I'm going to go ahead and break these loose by hand before I put an impact or anything on them. It's pretty loose already. It's funny because this is actually a motor from my XC700 back when I was a teenager. The exact same motor. It's pretty crazy how time has changed. I sold this thing forever ago, and I never in a million years would have thought I would have it back and be tearing it down. One, two, three. This is actually the wrong tool. I'm using a Torx in an Allen hole, but I mean, if it works, it works. There you have it. Exhaust manifold removed. Now's a good time to look. The cylinders are actually looking okay. Quite a bit of scoring on the pistons themselves, but these are 220 cylinders, and I'm really hoping that these are savable. I do remember the bottom end has a lot of oil in it, because I mean, it was probably a year or two ago I seen that little bit of rust on the intake side where the reeds would go, and I pretty much filled this thing with oil. So I fully expect a big mess when I get in tearing this thing apart. Alrighty. Next up, I'm gonna go ahead and just dig into this over here. I might as well. So we're gonna pull the recoil. Get that taken care of. Should be a 10 millimeter. So we're missing quite a few. Like I said, I did run this motor when I was a teenager. And it had quite at least one odor between then and now. She's a little crusty looking in here, I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty bad looking. Pretty bad. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep tearing stuff apart. Might as well break this hose clamp loose. So I'm gonna go grab a screwdriver. And we will get busy. I should have had all my tools laid out already, but you guys know how it goes. That will do the trick. Let's go ahead and get one of these popped loose. Just broke free. Kind of work this a little bit so it'll let go when I need it to, which will be a moment from here. So this is what we call the vacuum cleaner belt. This belt runs both your water pump and your oil pump. It actually looks really good despite the color. I see no cracking inside the cogs. There is a spec to check the width. I don't remember it off the top of my head though. That one actually looks really nice. Get this nasty, look at this. So gross. That is one of the nastiest recoils I've ever seen on the inside. Keep moving forward. That is, once you get that removed, this should come right off. Just gonna keep that all together in one spot. I like to keep it somewhat organized. I'm not gonna say I'm the best at it, but let's see. Bigger. My goodness. Guess that one it is. Let's see if my little electric one will pull this nut off. Just barely. Just freaking barely. Woo! About took the camera out. How you guys doing? Let's see. I don't know how to get my screen to pop back up, so hopefully. Oh, there it is. Ah, you guys can still see. Those are, now I'm gonna grab a puller. We're pulling the Magneto. Oh, nuts. I might not have the right size socket for that. Oh. I think either I've loaned, I don't know, I might not have the socket for this. This is the most badass fucking puller I've ever used in my life. 10 out of 10 recommended. Set this up flush. Ow, my knee. The way this one works, just run these all the way in, no problem. Won't stab into your magnets or your stator, nothing. It's a beautiful thing. You get to put all these bolts in, so the likelihood of stripping one and ripping it out is much, much less. this on the easiest mode and run them in. I actually don't know if I'm gonna get to do this without stopping the video for a minute. I'm gonna have to find a socket that will fit this. Odds of this coming off with a wrench are extremely low. So we'll be right back. I'm gonna acquire a socket. We'll start the video again. Oh yeah, for the life of me cannot find the right freaking socket. So I just have this crescent wrench as my backup. I'm gonna go ahead and get on this with another crescent wrench because these are like 1 inch plus in size. I don't have any wrenches or sockets that size apparently. I know I had a socket, I don't know where it went. But we're gonna try to get it the old school way. Brute force. Frick. Hammer time. Good Lord, this is tight. I won't let go either. Crap. I think we got her. Maybe not. I don't know what we got. Maybe it's stripped out. Who knows? Oh no, we got it. What a pain in the butt, but it is doable. That thing was freaking super stuck. A little rusty, a little, oh, freaking camera wiggled down, man. That'll never do. Anyways, got it, haha. Okay. Moving on now. Look at this. Why is that just like freaking falling? Woo! There, tightened it up a little bit on the tripod. So, moving on. Allens. Very small, annoying Allens. There's a possibility this could work or piss me off. That one worked. Hey, give me my bit back. Alright, I guess I could take it all the way out. Gosh dang it. So we're pulling the stator right now. It's held in with 3 Allen screws. Again, I'm not using the exact correct tool, but it will work. All right, that is one greasy, gross stator. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this little rubber cap off. That backs it up, keeps it all sealed in place. From there, start pulling stuff through. Kind of a tight fit here with the plug. this little plug. Stator removed. Good to go. Moving on now. So from here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts, and that'll unbolt this whole coolant pump assembly from the cases. Now with that comes with the mag side crank seal and everything, so it's integrated into this, not the cases itself. Oh, what size is that? Probably 1/2 inch or 13. I can't freaking remember. Definitely not a 12. That's a 14. Too big. I think I'm missing my 1/2 inch. Nope, I have it right here. Gotta be a socket or extension, I mean. A little tight so we can tap it. That's not gonna slip off. One. There's 2. There's 3. And that is all 4 coolant pump housing bolts removed. So it's here. Now this takes a little bit of force. I'm just going to tap on it lightly with the hammer. Try to get it to pop loose from the cases because it does have RTV or case sealer of some sort between the two. At least it should. A couple taps so it pops right off. Coolant pump. Check it. This one feels a little rough. But as you can see, that is your case seal or crankcase seal right there. And look at that. This one was already damaged. Good thing we checked it. Good thing we checked it. So that coolant pump's a little rough, and the seal is on its way out. Starting to get down to the fun stuff. Let's pull the engine plate off real quick, and then we're going to move on to the engine itself rather than stuff surrounding the engine. Rag down because I'm sure it's probably going to leak some oil. That should be 16 or 5/8, something like that. Let's try 15. Nope. Add these out of order. Here we are, 16. Early ones, you have this giant plate. It has little spacers here as well. So go ahead and put all that shit down there. Save the hardware. Trying to keep all the hardware for this motor in one place. Oh, I forgot on these old ones, you have a little plate here that doesn't just... On the newer ones, this is actually cast into the cases. These old ones, they're screwed on. So, let's see about getting that removed real quick before we move on. It's the fun stuff. Let's see. Just using it. Is this the right size? No way. It is. with those two screws removed, this plate also comes off. The reason you have to remove that is because one screws in one case, one screws in another case. Let's go ahead and get these coolant or oil lines out of our way. We're not going to need them where we're going. Not yet, at least. Now they're just flopping around and in our way. These are the ones that do your crank bearings. These two hoses I just removed. Sweet. Moving on, let's pull ahead. That's going to be 13 or ½ inch, whichever one you choose. Already got on the extension, so might as well leave it on. Control. These are all loose. Give her another tap with the hammer right here. Little inspection. This head looks perfect. I don't think this motor's ever been blown up. I never rebuilt it back in the day, and honestly, I don't think it had a whole lot of runtime on it since I sold it. And I sold it, I don't know, I was probably 19, 20. Alright, I'm gonna move you guys just for a moment. I gotta get so I can see what you see. Look at that cylinder. That is beautiful. There is nothing wrong there. Yep, that is two good 220s. A little yowie there, but not bad. I would 100% run these cylinders. Sweet. So we're gonna move on. It's gonna be in just a second though. Amber just showed up, so I gotta say hi to her. And back to work, tearing the 700 apart. So while I was saying hellos to Amber, getting off work, I already went ahead and broke these loose while I was talking to her, but for demonstrational purposes, I'm gonna go ahead and remove them completely on video for you guys. These are the cylinder base nuts. There's 4 on each cylinder. 9/16. Anyone's curious? Usually you get a couple turns on them with the wrench and you can get them from finger from there. Usually. Now, here's the unfortunate part. I'm pretty sure this crank needs some work. So like I said, I've seen some rust here, and I gave this thing a ton of oil a year or two ago, and it's just kind of been sitting in the garage, and she sounds a little noisy just turning it by hand, so I'm gonna go ahead and assume the worst, but potentially I'll be able to clean it up and it'll all smooth it out. If not, I'm gonna try to build a jig or something so I can use my press. I got a 30-ton press to tear cranks apart. Hopefully I can start rebuilding my own cranks, which I would love to be able to do because it would save me a ton of time and a ton of money. I probably have 10, 15 cranks for these that need some bearings here and there, but otherwise are good condition. Slap about $80 worth of bearings on each one, and they're worth a couple $100 then. But as they sit, they are virtually worthless. These ones right here always end up being the biggest pain in the butt ones. They get really gnarly with the exhaust there. They cake with oil and grease and nasty shit. So. So she was good. Quarter turn at a time. Quarter turn. There we go. Now we got her. And back to the easy one. There you go. That's completely undone. Woo! I'm going to go ahead and take my hammer. I'm just going to tap a little bit. And a little bit. See all the scoring on the piston. Cylinder 100% looks usable. Can't catch a fingernail on nothing that I can see. These I will run once again. Pistons, not so much. There's a lot of rust in here. I'm hoping I can get it cleaned up and it'll all be serviceable. That one is easy. Oh, look at that. So here you can see this is a paper gasket and this is a metal one. That means this motor has been rebuilt before in the past. These are nice. They are reusable, but it's a good idea to spray them down with some copper coat so they're nice, tacked up, sticky. But I will be saving that. So I would reuse that. Unlike these paper ones, once you pull a cylinder off those, they're pretty much just garbage. Oh, obviously, you can see that piston is new. That's a good looking piston. Look at that. I don't see any scoring or anything on it. I wouldn't even be worried about reusing that, to be honest with you. I would 100% reuse that piston. So I'll save that in case I ever do another junkyard build, because you guys know how I roll. Sometimes you just gotta get it, you gotta get it done right now. This one, garbage. Might need a smaller screwdriver for this, but I'm gonna try. Oh, gotta have a smaller one. Trying to get circlips out so we can then push the wrist pin and remove the piston. This should do the trick. Now I do this the wrong way, so typically if you're doing this and you aren't going to be splitting the cases and inspecting, doing the bottom end work, I would be putting a rag down there. Whoever put these circlips in are a bunch of assholes. I totally did it wrong. Or if the other side's easier to do. We did that one at 12 o'clock. Yep, this side looks good, so we'll pull this one. You got the other one done in such a way that it's almost impossible to be able to get it to pop out of the groove, which isn't a bad thing, but it is when you gotta do work on the motor. Come on now, just work with me now. Work with me. I got a feeling this ain't gonna work either. Oh, oh, oh. Son of a biscuit. Almost had it. There we go. Grab this clip with a pair of pliers. Uh-oh. Oh, and that's why you put a rag in there. Luckily, I know that flew right over here somewhere. I think it went under the sled, but I'll get that at a later date. Usually these are pretty tight and you can't push them out by hand. I actually do this 100% the wrong way. I do not recommend anybody push a circlip this way, but that's how we do it here. See, I'm not afraid to admit when I do something the wrong way, but I will say it does work. Good usable piston for a later date. Just check your wrist pins, make sure all the needles move freely. This one looks pretty good. These are so cheap though, I don't always recommend reusing those. Usually you can just buy a new one for $10 or something. Sorry about that, guys. My camera keeps turning down on the freaking tripod when I start hammering on stuff. Let's give it another spin, see if it'll tighten up any. Kinda, sorta, maybe, not really. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and do the second piston now. Try to get this removed. Alright, this one's much easier. Circlip. Save that. Again, a lot of time you don't need to save that kind of stuff, except for when you're like me and just every once in a while you get enough parts together that are used, you can build a good used parts engine. And it's worked for me a lot in the past. You would think how many motors I build that I would buy the right tool to remove a wrist pin, but I don't. Maybe I'll buy one this time while I'm at work. Dang, just a little bit more. I used to have one, but I have no idea where it went. Yeah, old crusty, scored up piston. It's not the worst, but I wouldn't reuse it by any means. Nope, sure wouldn't. The wrist pin, look at that, it's all rusty and gross. It's not a good sign. Alrighty. So that is the complete top end removed. As you can see, this side, where I was saying I seen some rust on the intake, there's rust all up in there. That feels good. That feels good. Might get lucky and it might just be an outside bearing that's rough, and if it is, I can replace that myself. Oh, we're gonna make a mess because I know I put quite a bit of oil in this motor. So we're just gonna tip her over and let her drain on this rag. Alright, up and over we go. Woo. So we have 2 larger bolts here and 4 smaller bolts there. Pull those and we'll be able to separate the crankcases. Don't remember the size. I feel like it's a 15 or no, 13 or so. I'll try to pump these down. 15. Yep. 15s are done. Let's grab 13, which I believe is the size of these. Yep, sure is. There, just kind of tap it. Polaris is nice enough and gave you plenty of spots to be able to tap. I like using these here. Just try to break the case halves apart from each other. Just like that. On this side, you can tap here. I already got it loose just with that. But you also, so I tapped it right here on the edge. Not enough to break this. You do not want to break anything on here. And you also have a tap here that you can tap on. Now you're not going to try to pull it up like this. You can, but I find it much easier to flip it over and pull the top off. Alright, I got the crank stuck in the top cases. We're just going to tap it with the wood. Drop out. Yep. Top case half, rusty crank. Whew. So that's what the bottom end, crank, everything on the inside of your motor looks like. Oh, I found a tight spot. Strange. Hear that whirling noise? That's a noisy bearing. We're running about 40 RPM. But that noise does tell me that somewhere there's a lot of junk in there, like a lot. So we're gonna go ahead, get this crank popped up and out of the lower case, which sometimes they can bite you. That side is, that side is. And the circlip will fight you, but just enough brute force and it'll come undone as well. Come on now, I just had it. Just like that. Now your crank is removed. Clean my hands real quick. Alright. You can see how gross and nasty. That's full of garbage. This side not so bad, but I'm definitely hoping I can clean these up and bring these crank bearings back to life. Let's see here. That one's rough. That was kind of rough. That one feels pretty good. Yep, it's just these two here that are feeling rough. Everything else feels good. These two feel pretty icky though. But like I said, they're... Okay, sorry about that. GoPro died. So like I was saying, this is super freaking gross. These bearings feel good. These two, a little rough, but honestly, not that bad. I think I'm going to hit them with a little penetrating oil, a little two-stroke oil, and see if I can get them to spin smoother, and I'll get back to you guys, because we might be able to save this crank. There's no... Let's see if I can hold the crank still. No up and down play on the rod. That's nice and smooth. Same over here. Whoop. No up and down play. Nice, smooth. Like I was saying, these bearings all feel good, pretty smooth. These ones, I don't know if you can hear them, but they're a little bit noisier. So I'm gonna try to clean those up. This might be a good crank. And then we might just have to clean up the cases and shit. Some fresh crank seals, a little sealing on the case halves, and this thing could probably go back together with some fresh pistons. However, I'm gonna end the video there. I just got done dealing with somebody that showed up to buy some parts. Really cool guy, showed him a couple of sleds out back, see while he watches the videos. So that is how you tear down, completely tear down a 700 big block Polaris. Also optical 2, 6, and 7 and 8 big block motors, because they all come apart the same way. So there you guys go. I hope this can help somebody that's looking to do a teardown and inspection on a big block type Polaris. It's actually quite simple, a little time consuming, and you kind of have to know what you're doing a little bit when it goes back together, especially if it looks like this. But very simple. Stay tuned. Maybe I'll do another video putting it back together.